coverage. Most of us tend to take phone service as a given, either at home or out in the public. Our expectation is that a phone will be available close by. In fact, there are more payphones in service now than ever before. But in some Denver neighborhoods, those public phones can hurt as well as help. The problem starts when public phones get taken over by drug dealers or gangs as a place to do their unsavory business.
They seem to attract the wrong element for us because for the people that want to use the phones, they're afraid to go use the phone because in the high crime area, we have a lot of drug dealers that get paged and they use their callbacks to do their drug deals on the payphones in high crime areas.
Straightforward police efforts in dealing with the problem have trouble producing a lasting effect, with the presence of the phone itself providing protection for the criminals.
What the phone was doing, it was being used as a tool to disguise or to show the police that, you know, we're using the phone when the police would come in and they say harass them, but actually the police were saying, why are you loitering on this corner? But the gang members were using the phone as a way to get out of that.
Well, a lot of times it's just like an effect like roaches in a house. If we drive by, they see us coming, they leave, and they know that we have to give them a warning about loitering, you know, to get away from the area. They go around the corner, we drive out of the area, they're right back on the phone. So a lot of times we don't have a choice but to try to work with people to go ahead and remove it.
That seemingly direct solution, however, can have a profound effect on the community and be difficult to achieve with current laws.
For those phones that the city manages on the city easements, on the sidewalks, we have the ability today to call US West, who is the company that owns those phones that the city provides space to. I can call them and say, I've got a problem with this phone, I need you to do something about it, and it gets done. For phones that are on private property, the city has no authority over those phones.
In Chicago, for instance, the city passed an ordinance, and there were literally whole neighborhoods where it was mandated that all outside payphones were to be pulled out. These were from the local exchange company as well as the private vendors. Everyone on the street was just pulled out. This causes a problem because in those neighborhoods, generally where they have problems with payphones, it's a two-edged sword. You have people who live in that neighborhood that don't have a phone in their apartments or in their dwellings, and so they depend on that payphone as a means of communication with the outside world.
With more payphones now marketed by small private vendors, locating the owners and gaining cooperation can be difficult. Working with neighborhood groups as well as police and phone vendors, Denver hopes to find other solutions first before yanking a phone off the wall.
It comes from the community. The community says, you know, when they say that they've had enough of the gang activity, when they can't use the grocery store, use the laundromat because of fear of the gang members congregating around, then that's when, you know, we decide from the policy standpoint, the administration, that, you know, something needs to be done.
I think the city has a responsibility to those people to try and make it easier for them to get something done.
As vendors or legitimate vendors of pay telephones, if they have a problem, then we have a problem. And our objective is to work with the city within whatever guidelines are set up. The manufacturers of payphones also have heard the problems that go on, and so they are trying to change things in the payphones to make the phones less conducive to these type of activities.
Initial steps to turn around a problem phone could include limiting the ability to call pagers, restricting incoming calls, shutting off phone during certain hours, while still keeping the phone active for 911 emergencies or long-distance dialing. Economics also plays a serious role in dealing with phone locations, as both vendors and property owners can make money from their contracted installation and lose that revenue if the phone is pulled.
The total cost of an installation of an outside payphone is probably in the neighborhood of about $2,000. If that phone has to be removed, then they're going to be forced to find another location.
We have more difficulty dealing with the actual owner of the telephone than the people who own the property owners themselves. Why? Because they know that it's a lucrative business, but they're beginning to see, though, that when a whole community says we've had enough and we are afraid and we need some help, they're beginning to become more sensitive to the issues of the community. And I think that's what the point we have to drive home, is that we can't put a value again on people's lives.
This is not an attempt to infringe on their ability to do business. This is an attempt to help these neighborhoods take their neighborhoods back.
As these ideas are crafted into potential law, all parties seem to recognize the problem and the need for a consistent approach and process.
Part of what this ordinance, I'm hoping, will address is identifying those payphone providers inside the boundaries of the city and county of Denver, so that we know where they are, we know who they are, we know where their phones are. So when we have a problem, or if we have a problem, we know who to go to.
They're not trying to act in a rash manner. What they're trying to do is to alleviate the problem, and if the problem is not alleviated, then drastic steps have to be taken. And we understand this.
We're not in the business of removing telephone, but only when there's a public nuisance or a safety hazard to a community.
The proposed legislation that will make these options available to city agencies is in the draft stage. City Council will review the proposal in its Personnel and Public Safety Committee.